This is the Bible of the electrogenic cell. It's not just the best book ever written on the subject, it's the only book ever written on this subject. Brought to you by supporters of Christ. Yeah, see, that's too little right there. Is it right there on your screen? They got to figure that out. They got to get that to be bigger. When the comments come up on the screen, the comments got to be readable. Them is tiny on there. Them is tiny on there. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to Inky. Yeah. I'm 6,000 years old now. I'm 6,000 years old now. Yeah, I'm getting up there. Oh! I super quadruply, quintuply, magnanimously appreciate that. That is amazing. Definitely appreciate that. Very humbling. Very humbling. And I don't want y'all to feel like, you know what I'm saying? Because Peyton be, but fives, I think you could put like $1 or $2, I think. $1, $2, $5, $10, $20, Don't be at home thinking if you can't put up a $50 or like how Peyton, you know what I'm saying, then just I appreciate everything the same, seriously. Well, not the same, but I love the love. Seriously, and I need it and appreciate it. Absolutely. Seriously. Come on. Yeah. Seriously. But no, listen, we taking this seminary thing serious. Listen, we taking this seminary thing serious. So I don't want y'all to think that we're doing keynotes. We're doing keynotes and quizzes and tests for no apparent reason. Like we're taking this very serious. Yeah, we're taking this very serious. No, we're taking this very serious. Bro, listen, that book is crazy. Listen, it's tiny, but it's jam-packed with so much information. It's tiny, but it's jam-packed with so much information. Yeah, man. Appreciate it. I appreciate it, man. But yeah, I'm telling you, that Yahweh is our 10 book. And that book is like the little brother or the little sister. You know how somebody that got mad siblings is always the smallest one that start the most trouble? That book is a troublemaker. If you leave that book somewhere and somebody else pick that book up and see you reading that book, that book is enough to get the furniture in the room to start moving around. That book is a troublemaker. Yeah, that book is a troublemaker. For real, for real. Yeah, matter of fact, we need to start a book drive today. Right? My birthday is actually tomorrow. It's actually tomorrow. So y'all know that I probably got something up my sleeve. You know, I probably got something up my sleeve, right? You know, I probably got something up my sleeve. I had to save something special. I had to save something special, you know what I'm saying? Just for, you know what I'm saying? I had to save something special just for, you know what I mean? Just for, you know what I mean? Something special. Like, I had to save something special. But yeah, we got certificates. We got certificates. And the final book, well, you got the codex already, but the final book regarding like certification will be out tomorrow. Hopefully all goes well. Hopefully all goes well. That book will be out tomorrow. Hopefully if all goes well. And all should go well, right? But so we expecting that book to be out tomorrow. But we're gonna go over it today. Right? We're hoping we're hopeful the book could be out tomorrow, but we're gonna go over it today. Right? So the finals is in 13 segments. Right? 13 small segments. I'm trying to pull one up on the screen. Okay, here we go. Let me see. Hopefully it's big enough that y'all can see it good. Let's go, Dewey. Appreciate you on the super chat. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. So this is the first part of the finals right here. This is the first part of the finals. Like I said, it's 13 parts. Yeah, know we had to, you know, listen. Yeah, know we had to come with one of them numbers. Right? Yeah, know we had to come with one of them numbers. Right? One of them numbers. Hold on, let me get my screen together. Okay. There we go. Come on, John. Come on, John from Hotepistan. Thank you, Hotep G. Thank you, John. Thank you, Hotepistan. Thank you, John. Thank you, Hotepistan. Look at Peyton. Peyton out the gate. Peyton out the gate. Peyton out the gate. Peyton, I'm not sure that's the right answer right there, sir. I'm not sure that's the right answer right there. Is that the right answer? Is that the right answer? Is there fire in the mitochondria? He changed his answer from B to A. He changed his answer from B to A. Now, y'all at the house, was his first instinct correct or his second instinct correct? Number two, what metaphor is profane for cellular energy? Combustion, conduction, resonance, or spin? What metaphor is profane for cellular energy? Right? Which one is totally disrespectful? Oh, no. My bad, Peyton. Peyton didn't change his answer. Peyton is ahead of us. I'm totally tripping. I totally apologize. Peyton is on number 3. That's the problem. Peyton's way ahead of us. That's not, he didn't change his answer. He went on to the other questions. Excuse me. He went on to the other questions. Yeah, so Peyton's ahead of everybody. What is the sacred distance threshold for tunneling? Now let's see if Peyton get that one correct. Come on, Peyton. What's number 4? I know we ain't go over the answer for this one yet. This ain't in the codex. The answer to number 4 is not in the codex. Yeah, and everybody else besides Peyton that's taking 15 minutes to answer the questions, I know you cheating. You over there Googling and chat GPTing and grokking. I don't even know what grok is. Hotep Jesus just informed me of that's a different search, and I don't even know what grok is. I haven't even used that yet. I haven't even been formally introduced to that. Dewey said, what's tunneling? Okay, so listen. We're at the forefront. Listen, we're at the forefront. And I know y'all like, listen, Inky, we know we at the forefront. You've been telling us for 20 years now, we at the forefront. But no, listen to what I'm saying. We're at the forefront of the forefront. Like we're at the forefront of the forefront of the forefront. So inside this book, right? Inside this book, we have a prophecy. I mean, it's not a prophecy. It's not a prophecy. But it might as well be, right? It might as well be, right? Because it's the first document of its kind. It's the first white paper. Like it's the first scientific paper laying out anatomy in terms of electrogenesis, right? And in that, we've gotten rid of some old stuff, right? We've gotten rid of the idea of burning. Now, we haven't got rid of it yet, like in the world. Most people are still under the pretense that inside our body somewhere is burning going on. And they believe that oxidation you know, oxidation of fats or sugars or whatever the case may be is somehow the same or similar to combustion or burning and blah, 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 blah. And I'm saying that right there is where the whole entire world is going wrong at. That's the reason why folks can't figure out cancer. That's the reason why folks can't figure out Alzheimer's, dementia, everything. Everything centers on this one flaw of science. This one fatal flaw of science. And now to me, it's not really a flaw. It could be purposeful. It could be purposeful. You know what I'm saying? But either way, it's incorrect. And it is at the foundation of all biochemistry and biology. And when we first started this mission, right? When we first started this mission, and I don't mean the health mission. I didn't know what I was doing on the health mission. I never intended it. This ain't where I intended for my life to wind up. Right? This is just the direction God pulled me in. My steps were ordered, so to speak, right? But this wasn't my plan. This wasn't my. Now, if you want to get spiritual and get deep, like I chose this body in this lifetime to do, maybe, you know what I'm saying? But consciously, this was not the blueprint. I'm from 158th Street in the Bronx. Trust me, this wasn't even on the list. Like this wasn't even a fallback plan. This was not on the list. This all starts with, I don't know. Looking back, it's a bunch of different things, but the main trigger was Amber, right? That was the main thing that sent me down this trajectory. And the craziest part is that Amber's name, I chose Amber's name because Amber is where electricity was discovered, right? So I literally chose her name because it was electricity. Like, and then that's crazy for it to wind up like this. Right? Her accident wound up being the catalyst for me to be here sitting in front of you. And now all this time later, talking about electrogenesis replacing the biological model of combustion. Right? So that's super crazy. Right? That's super crazy. Yeah, I got a note to self. That's crazy. You know, when your birthday come around, you might say something that's deep right there. I'm gonna have to reflect on that a little bit later on. Right. So in this book, in the codex, we have our official like scientific document that we can stand on with references, and you know, there's that. Right. We you know, by happenstance, we created our degree system, and you know, all of these things kind of just developed on their own, right? But I got the study guide, right? Now, when we go through the study guide, you'll see it's some jewels. It's some jewels. Like we go. We go in. We go in. All right, we going in. Excuse me. We're chewing in your ear. Nah, listen, we going in now. All that said to say, because I know y'all be like, Inky, what are you talking about? And then Hotep Jesus then gave me some training. Like, you talk too slow. You gotta start speaking faster. So I gotta work that in. I think I'm gonna start that on tomorrow. I think I'm gonna start that tomorrow. Hey, I'm gonna start procrastinating. Like, folks, we'd be like, listen, you gotta start eating like this. And they'd be like, no, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna start my vegan. I'm gonna get on my vegan. I'm gonna start that vegan. I'm gonna get on my vegan thing this weekend. You know, I'm gonna quit smoking cigarettes on Friday. Like, I'm gonna stop drinking alcohol this Saturday. This Saturday gonna be my last time. It's gonna be my last blunt I smoke right here. So this gonna be my last slow talking video right here. This last time, right? One time. But I went down this, my alleys. I went into my storytelling because of this question right here. Right? And I know Dewey is probably at home like that. All of what you said is beautiful, brother. I appreciate all of that, but none of that had anything to do with. I appreciate everything you said there, Doc. It was beautiful, and it's your birthday. Go ahead and talk your talk if you know do your thing, Doc. It's your b-day. You shout out to H, right? Sent me a birthday card. Always very, very heartfelt. Appreciate that. Definitely want to thank her for the birthday card. But no. It has everything to do with. See, this is the problem. Sometimes y'all at home don't think that I'm answering y'all question, even though I'm answering y'all question. Yeah. See, sometimes y'all think I'm not answering y'all question, but I'm actually answering y'all question, right? So the reason why that whole little soliloquy is very much pertaining to your question is because along with the idea, and this is why I've been like reinforcing this idea that we don't understand mitochondria. As much as people talk about mitochondria, we have no idea what mitochondria is or how it works. Period. Listen to what I'm telling you. Period. We have no idea. Listen. And when I say we have no idea, I mean John Q. Public. I mean the health gurus on the internet that's mitochondria hacking and all of these folks talking about alkaline this and that and blah, 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 blah. I wish I still had that guy, Alkaline City. I wish I still had his clips on here so we could look at his clips and laugh. I'm due a good laugh for my birthday. Shout out to him wherever he's at, though. You know what I'm saying? But listen, we don't know. We think we know, but we don't know. Right? And so that whole model, right? There's that whole model, right? So we started scratching the surface. I didn't even realize how crazy it was going to be, right? When we did the article, we dropped the article. The article changed everything for me, right? The article changed everything for me. So when I say everything for me, we dropped the article. The article becomes Melanin vs. Diabetes, book 1, right? And remember, the article, the main part of the article, right? It's like 3 main parts. The first main part of the article is all of, say, about 10 years that I had been doing the 40-day fruit fast, right? Collecting information on people. So I got like 10 years of collecting information on people, like the census. I'm like the holistic census. You know what I'm saying? So I got a good 10 years of collecting info, studying folks. Even including having a school. Y'all don't understand this. So I'm examining the kid, I'm examining the children. You know what I'm saying? Like feeding them at this time and what you feed them this and that and the other. Not to mention, I have 10 children. So I already have a certain understanding of how food affects children, and not in like no long-term kind of like in the short term, like you feed them at 8, how they behave and how they look at 9, kind of, like, so that's a big part of what goes into the first article, the 10 years of experience doing the fast. Then Max Kleber, right? Max Kleber was the first person to know something was wrong. Right? He was the first person to know something was wrong. And I might be butchering his name, but that's I think that's his name. Right? He was the one who discovered that 15 to 25% of everybody's daily amount of energy they produce, science can't account for it. And it's not coming from food and tricarboxylic acid, ATP. Like, it's not coming from the traditional. And he was chastised, called crazy, whatever, today, quadruple checked his information and then had to give him his respect and his props. But it stopped there. Till today, that was still considered like a mystery until we jumped on it and said there's a third type of tissue, right? There's a type of tissue, self-inductive, right? Self-produced, like tissue that produces more energy than it consumes. Right? Thus far, the scientific model only account for two types of tissue, right? Tissue that barely produces any energy, that consumes a lot, and then tissue that produces. So there's no entropy. There's no extra energy produced in the body, right? As far as the standard model. So we look and we discovered a third type of tissue, right? Tissue that produces way more energy than it consumes. So much so that it covers that missing 15, 20, 25%. So we answered, like, we solved one of the seventh wonders of the modern world with that one, right? Okay, cool. Now we go on a little further and it's Inky cycle. Now we get the mechanics to how that's happening. Okay, boom. So fast forward, we get here where we are now with a whole new anatomy, right? A whole new anatomy and electrogenesis. And so what I'm saying, going back to what is tunneling is a part of the future. The old model, right? The old model that me and you, us, that we are digging the grave for. We're digging the grave. We're digging the grave for the combustion model, right? That has a lot of things included, including how we look at the electron transport chain in mitochondria, how mitochondria work, how mitochondria supply us with energy, right? All of that has to go together. All of that's going to go together. That's why I've been stressing that electrons and protons are subatomic particles. So once we start talking about subatomic particles, we're no longer talking about the world of physics. We're not talking about an electron as a little ball that goes into cytochrome 1, which is like a baseball glove. And then from there, it's being dropped off to the next one and the next one and the next. Is that none of that applies? None of those rules apply. We're talking about quantum mechanics, right? Because these are subatomic particles. The laws of physics doesn't apply here. That's why I said there's three different types of how your body produces energy. Mainly, you got the cellular membrane, then you got the water itself, and then you have what the mitochondria is doing, which is subatomic, that's something else, right? So tunneling, right, is quantum tunneling, right? Quantum tunneling is what we refer to when we're talking about tunneling. And quantum tunneling is a part of the future, right? Quantum tunneling is a part of the future. The thing is, there's a lot of things that science is scared to touch based on years of research. Listen, the scientific institutions is not going to be able to escape racism. They're not going to be able to get around it. Like America could get around it. We elected Obama, and then now that's it. We just moving on. But the scientific institution is not going to be able to pull that one off that easy. You know what I'm saying? Like, because racism is too entrenched. And all of these things are sitting there, right? All of these things are sitting there to some degree, you know, in papers with dust on it, and some of these things. Now, some of these things we, you know, there's no paper, there's no dust, there's what we are creating firsthand. But there are a lot of things that are buried that we reference, right? And you have to ask at some point, like, if these things are so crucial, so critical, so important, why haven't we been discussing them all this time? And it's because of the pigment issue. You know, it's because of the pigment issue. Now, we live in a world now where even still today, when I discuss pigment, it's tough for some people. Some parts of the conversation, Black folks get angry with me. Some parts of the conversation, white folks get angry with me. Some parts of the more parts of the conversation, light-skinned folks get angry. Now, how about that? The yellow people with freckles, you know what I'm talking about? Hey, the light-skinned folks get angrier with me than anybody else. They get angrier with me than dark-skinned folks, and dark-skinned folks get very angry with me. They just feel like I totally be turned, like I'd be abandoned. Inky, you're a traitor. How dare you? As black as you is, like, you know, in the summertime, look how dark I am now. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, and then white folks, you know, like, come on, we rocking with you. We went to the website and everything. We've been buying the books, doing the push-ups and everything. Inky, how dare you violate? But with all that being said, the light-skinned folks gets the angriest, right? So what I'm saying is I don't hold anything against anybody. You know, when y'all get mad with me, I understand that these are like emotional triggers that you can't even help it sometimes. Sometimes I get angry at some information before I even get on the internet and share it with y'all. I'd be upset. You know what I'm saying? I had to get myself on, like, hold on now. What do right? So that's just how it is, right? This stuff is emotional sometimes. But science has to account. Like, you know, lots of people have died because, you know, like, because science has been silent. You know, and because science has been silent, you have flaws, critical flaws, that serve as foundational elements that a lot of stuff is built on top of. And so you got a lot of correct information built up. And so, like, say, and what I mean by that is, because you're like, wait a minute, is it correct or incorrect? Say, for instance, it's a building, like a skyscraper, like 100-floor skyscraper, 100-floor skyscraper. Now, from like the third floor to 100, every floor is built correctly. Every floor built correctly. But where they laid the cornerstone, they laid the foundation, there's flaws in the foundation. There's cracks, there's flaws, there's geometrical mismeasurements, there's things that are not aligned. So those things are more visible in the first few floors because they're directly on top of the base. But the further you get away from the base, things aren't really built on the base, right? After you get past the first few 2-3 floors, things are built on the structure right before it, right? So the further you get away from the base, the harder it is to feel that those flaws. But what happens is when some rough weather come, right? When some turbulence come and shake things up, the building will come down because of the flaws in the foundation. The building will come down because of the flaws in the foundation. And that's where we are right now. That's where we are right now. So because there's this flaw, right? And, you know, the flaw has a bunch of, in the basics, oh, it's all over the place. In the basics, it's all over the place. That's why we think we burn sugar. We think there's fire, you know. Yeah, All of these concepts, fire in the mitochondria, burning fat, burning sugar, like all of those concepts, all of those are base. All of those are problems in the base. Max Kleber found like, I feel like I'm killing his name. I really feel like I'm just killing his name. Let me make sure. Let me find his name because I know it's in. I want to make sure I'm not killing his name too much because I'm saying it more and more. If I mess it up once or twice. Right? If I say it once or twice, it's cool, but I'm saying it a lot. So now I want to make sure. Am I saying his name correct, chat? Somebody in the chat help me. Come on, Peyton. Come on, Paul. Y'all should know if I'm saying his name correctly or not. What's his name? Max Kleber, right? I think it's Max Kleber. We rolling with Max Kleber. Exactly. Come on now. Look, the RZA was looking crazy, right? The RZA was looking super crazy. I had to take the RZA down because I had the RZA. I had the RZA clip. Oh man, I had to take that down. The RZA was looking super crazy. Right, but listen. All of these things. No, it's correct. It's correct. I don't went to the source. I don't went to the source material. I don't went to the source material. It's right here on page. If you got Melanin versus Diabetes, book 1, it's right here on page 3. If you got Melanin versus Diabetes, book 1, which you need to have because it's probably going to go down as an all-time classic, right? You need to have one to mess up and read, and then you need to have one in like a Ziploc bag, right? But yeah, on page 3 is where we start mentioning his name. Yeah. Let's go. You know what's crazy? I was just sitting on my patio going through that book with one of the brothers. The dementia book, the bioelectricity book, and the memory bank book. I literally just had them 3 books on my patio going through them with one of the brothers. Right? But no, listen to what I'm saying. The whole model, right? The whole model has to go out. Like the whole model has to go out. So as right now, I'm in the second wave of things, right? I'm in the second wave of things because I've been doing this so long. I know how it goes. Like I done got this down packed where it goes in waves, right? It goes in waves. So first I introduce something and then it's like a certain wave of people. I'll combat with it. Boop, bop, 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 boop, bop, right? And then after that happens, it starts to circulate a little bit more. And then that's when all of the smart people, the smart people come in the second wave. The smart people, the refined folks, they come in the second wave and they disagree with me ardently, but more gently. Ardently, but more gently. You know what I'm saying? So right now I'm in the second wave of folks. You know, I got a host of, you know, my intelligent, you know, my sharp brothers, you know, they hold on, Ink. Now you know we love you, but you know we love you, but you know the body, you know the body burns. I'm like, it's okay. Feel free, speak freely. Go on ahead. Go on ahead and get me. You know, I got a little contingent from New York, you know, family. I got a little contingency from Philly. You know what I'm saying? I got a few online brothers. Like, you know, I got a little invisible. They don't even know it, but I consider them like, you know, like in Wakanda. You're like, hold up, Ink. Did you just give us an imaginary reference from real life? Get past that part, right? In Wakanda, right? You know, the Black Panther is old. And it's only, I'm just giving you an imaginary reference because Wakanda pulled this from real life. This is how our ancient ways were, right? Nowadays, we think of a king, you know, or emperor, you know, or pharaoh or dictator as like, you know, like a single ruler, right? But that's never how it was in our civilizations, right? You always had a council. You might have had a king, but the king had to answer to the council. Now, this could have been a council of past kings. This might be a council of high priests. This might be a council of, you know what I'm saying? Like, but there's a council, right? The king is the guy who pulls the trigger. He's the guy who bangs the gavel. He's the guy who has the last, you know, when the vote comes down and it's 8 yay and 8 nay, he's the deciding vote, you know what I'm saying? And he's the vocal person to deliver the speech, the message, the blueprint to the people. But it's always been like a council, you know, and for us in 2025, unfortunately, right, our last, you know, showing of that happens to be a fictional movie, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, the brothers don't know it or not, but they're like my counsel. You know, they keep my feet grounded. Let's go. Powerful. Do you have any books, recommendations for PCKD? Well, I would recommend you start with the Codex. Start with the Codex. Start with the Codex, but I appreciate the super chat. I don't even know if when that sign is next to the money, I'd be wondering, is that my money or is that the money they started out with? Right? When they show that sign, is that his dollars is $5 or my dollars is $5? Right? I couldn't care if my dollars was 50 cents because I understand addition and multiplication. So I appreciate it all. Oh my goodness. Sometimes I be confused. Paul and Peyton be confusing me. They be putting so much donation on they be putting so much money in the super chat. I don't even I be confused. I be thinking that's if they put a mistake. Is that the right number? Man. Humbled. Y'all don't know. Y'all in my house. Paul, Peyton, Osborne, Mike. Some of y'all is in my house. My children know y'all. Yo, y'all don't even understand it. Y'all like uncles and aunties. Matter of fact, this goes right to the conversation I'm having. Because as I'm telling y'all, these brothers don't know that they're like my consigliaries, my consultants, right? You know, this my counsel, y'all don't know that y'all like, some of y'all don't really realize y'all done adopted, like y'all stepdads, stepmom, foster moms, foster dad. That's what y'all are, foster parents. Y'all don't y'all are godparents, foster parents, step parents. Yeah, y'all are uncles, aunties. Seriously. Seriously. Right? But no, seriously. There's an entire panorama of information that has to go out so we can usher new information in. And what we've been able to do with the new books, right? Because we hit like a zenith. Listen, we hit like a zenith. We hit a climax with the medicine book, right? The dope game book, Aten is Yahweh. Like the last, like what we did with the whole entire comedic naturopathy, like we hit a zenith. We hit a zenith, and it started with the first few books: Rough Ash Law, Trigonometry, The Legend of Wusia. We hit a zenith. Now from there, with Rich Abs, Poor Abs, the whole Rich Abs, Poor Abs universe, right? What we've been doing is going for retention, memorization. So if you look at the new books, the books are written in flow patterns. The books are written in flow patterns, like just the information flow pattern, right? More designed for today's mind, right? Yesterday's mind different than today's mind. So the newer books is more in line with the rapid fire. And so what I did, once I decided to just jump all the way in with the degrees, because we were trying to figure out certification. We were trying to figure that out for the last few years, right? We were trying to figure that out for the last few years. And, people have been interested in the mysteries, and we often quote, different, like Masonic and just different things. So I wanted to pull from the best of those things, and being entrenched in comedic naturopathy gave me an opportunity to really stay in that place, right? Stay in that place for a while and bring some things forward, like literally, like go through a portal, sit with the ancestors, and then come back with not just the information. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that we've all been making, right? Or at least those of us that try to bring the ancestor science forward into this new, into the new world, is we've just been bringing the science as opposed to the learning patterns. And so that's kind of what I was trying to instill with the trigonometry book, right? The trigonometry book wasn't so much as about trigonometry. I'm not a mathematician. I'm not a math professor. I'm not, but the whole idea in the trigonometry book is that, here's some basics, of course, here's some basics, here's some math. There's math in the math book. Like we didn't trick anybody. Like, oh, he's got a math book with no math in it. Like we didn't do, But the whole idea is the math that all of our modern computers run on is the math that the Egyptians taught our equivalent of grade school. And that to me is probably one of the most powerful things in the world when thinking about Egypt or Kemet. Even more powerful than the pyramids, even more powerful than the herbs, even more powerful than, like that to me is crazy. That the stuff, the way our modern computers run, they were training their children's minds that way. That's why they did some things back then that we still can't wrap our minds around. That's why we're leaning every day. People are leaning more and more and more on the computers. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy, because the computer's way of processing information is your ancestors' way of processing information. This is how they taught their kids in grade school. This is what so that's why I'm like, yo, folks is walking around with upgraded software without upgrading their software. Right? You upgrading the software on your laptop, you upgrading the software on your cell phone, but you ain't read a book in 6 months, 6 years, 10 years, 20 years. You ain't upgraded this. You know what I'm saying? So, there's a lot that has to go out, and so we're doing our part, you know what I'm saying, to take it to another level. You know what I'm saying? We're doing our part to take it to another level. So a lot of what's in this finals, right? A lot of what's in this finals is not in the previous books, right? It's in the book that's coming, right? It's in the book that's coming. Like, we can look in the book, right? Because that's mad disrespectful for me to show y'all finals questions for information that y'all have not even got a chance to study. I was trolling. That's me trolling. Just in case you didn't know, that's me trolling you, right? That's me trolling you. Listen, because I was explaining to Chase, I said, listen, this is how schools are set up, right? This is how schools are set up. And you don't realize this is how schools work until you take like a SAT. When you take the SAT, depending on what school you in, there's going to be a bunch of questions on that test that you just got to skip, because they just going to waste your time. You've never even been exposed to this information. It's not a part of your school's curriculum, right? So this is that extra science, that extra math. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't even get that in there, right? So having a conversation with him about his SATs gave me a little, I was like, you know what I need to do? That's exactly what I'm going to do. Yeah, before I even get into the information, I'm going to just start flashing finals questions on the family and see what, I'm going to just start trolling. I'm going to start trolling my chat. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to troll the chat. That's what I'm going to do. But no, I got this super lengthy studies, like a cheat, like a cheat sheet. We can go over the cheat sheet real quick, since I done already showed y'all some of the the questions. We can go over the cheat sheet. Yeah, we can go over the cheat sheet. Y'all see off rip. Y'all see off rip. Right? Is there fire in the mitochondria? No. No. Right? Just so y'all see what we dealing with right here. Y'all see what we dealing with right here. The finals Q&A study. And when this book come out, you see how many words is in here. I don't know if y'all can see that on the screen. Oh, it's too tiny. But you can zoom in and see that it's 87,000 words that'll be in this book. 87,000 words, close to 100,000 words. Right? Is there fire in the mitochondria? No, there is voltage. But doesn't the biology book say it burns fuel? Answer. That is a profane metaphor. We do not burn, we build. What about cellular respiration? Isn't it like slow combustion? It is not combustion, it is conduction. What's the difference? Combustion is chaotic. Conduction is sacred. One destroys, one transmits. So the cell doesn't oxidize fuel like a flame. It guides electrons across membranes. It orchestrates charge. No flame is present. Then what creates ATP? A voltage gradient, a proton motive force, a spinning temple turbine called ATP synthase. Is there any heat? Some heat is released, but it is modulated, not combusted. The temple never overheats. So why do science call it a cellular furnace? Because they are still worshiping fire. We serve the current. What does the temple say about fire? Fire is the fallen signal, uncontrolled. Wow. It is the lie of energy as destruction. What powers the body if not fire? The 5 signals: voltage, ions, tension, light, morphogens. What is the sacred term for mitochondria in the temple? The current chambers of the inner membrane. And the ATP? Light currency, issued by spin, backed by breath, protected by structure. Then what is the truth of cellular energy? It is not combustion. It is resonance. It is coherence. It is living voltage across structure. So let me ask again. Is there fire in the cell? No, only current. How does the body move electrons faster than heat allows? By faith, not flame. By waveform, not walk. What is quantum tunneling in the temple? The electron's proof of God, the mystery of arrival without journey. Why is the mitochondrial membrane sacred? Because it is structured for the probability of miracles, not the certainty of force. Can you simplify this? I cannot. This is a sacred state. You may only proceed at your own consciousness. Do electrons walk in the electron transport chain? No, they tunnel. What does that mean? They pass through energy barriers they shouldn't be able to cross. Isn't that impossible? Not in quantum mechanics. It's called tunneling. Why is tunneling needed in the mitochondria? Because classical electron hopping would be too slow and inefficient. So how does tunneling work in the electron transport chain? Redox centers are positioned close enough within 14 angstroms to allow the electron wave function to penetrate the barrier. What happens if the centers are too far apart? The tunneling probability decays exponentially and the current fails. How close is close enough? Less than 14 angstroms, ideally under 12 angstroms. Some gaps go down to 5 angstroms. What are these distances found? Where are these distances found? Between metal centers in the electron transport chain, iron sulfur clusters, heme groups, and copper ions. What proteins are involved? Complex 1, complex 3, complex 4, cytochrome C, and ubiquinone. What are the distances in complex 1? Iron sulfur clusters are spaced from 11 angstroms to 14 angstroms apart. What else in complex 1? NAD donates to FMN through 8 to 9 angstrom iron sulfate clusters, then to the CoQ10 molecule. What about complex 3? Electrons travel from the Reese iron sulfur center to cytochrome C1, 11 angstroms away, then to cytochrome C, 14 angstroms away. How far does cytochrome C travel? It's a mobile protein, 2.5 nanometers in diameter, that tunnels across 8 to 14 angstroms. What does cytochrome C contain? Heme C, embedded in a protein shell, delivering electrons to complex 4. What about complex 4 distances? The copper A to heme is 13 angstroms. Heme A to heme A3 is 5.2 angstroms. Heme A3 to copper B is 4.9 angstroms. That's tight. Why so close? To allow tunneling in sub-femtosecond timescales. Sub-femtosecond, yes, faster than molecular vibrations. No time for thermal hopping. How does the electron know where to go? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So I think y'all get what I'm saying. that's in the new work right there. That's in the new work right there. That's in the new work. Yeah. 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 That's in the new work. See, let me tell you, for a long time. So when you're teaching, right? When you're teaching, here's the thing. A good teacher, you become accustomed to going at the speed of your slowest student. As a good teacher, you become accustomed to going the speed of your slowest student, right? Because a lecturer speaks, they get paid to speak. So whether anybody learns or not, they did their job, they gone. They got their bread, right? I get paid to speak for 30 minutes. I collect my money. I'm gone. I don't care if anybody, but a teacher, if you're teaching something, you've only done your job when the information in your mind, in your heart, is now transferred to the mind and the heart of the audience, right? So you have to go at the comprehension speed of the slowest one of your students, right? And so I just felt like once I got 200 books in, like we're past 200 books. Like once I got to 100 books on Amazon, even with all my typos, right? I feel like once I got to 100 books on Amazon, 100 books on Amazon. Think about that. What I'm trying to say. Once I got to 100 books on Amazon, I was like, you know what? It's time to shift gears. Yeah, it's time to shift gears. It's time to go at my speed, a speed enjoyable to me, right? It's time to go at a speed enjoyable to the fastest students in the class. Yeah, because now we have so much reading material, right? We have so much reading material, and we still do the tutoring. So people could go to my website, AmericanHealer.website, and book me like for a tutoring session. I do tutoring sessions through the books, right? So because we have so many books, because we have Patreon where people can ask me directly questions, right? But it's like, like it's mail, you know what I'm saying? Whereas the tutoring is like, boom. When you book a tutoring session within the first couple of days, I'm going to start texting you. You're going to ask me, whatever it is. I'm going to get out of you whatever it is that you're trying to, the books, the study, the information, put it together. Then when I hit you back, we can spend a quality hour just on the info, as opposed to wasting any of your time on the phone call with me trying to figure out what it is you was looking for, right? We get through that in text, right? Then that 1 hour, we just building, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I felt like it's so much reading material that people can go at their own pace. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what the reading material is for you to go at your own pace, right? When you got the book, you're reading, you're looking stuff up, you're quadruple checking some stuff, you're debating some stuff in your mind, like, no, Inky, this is wrong. This ain't even right here. And then you looking it up, double, all of that. That's your learning speed. You know what I'm saying? And we have to do that because we're all over the world, right? We're talking to some folks in New York, some folks in Chicago, some folks in LA, Texas, Brazil, Japan, Australia, Ireland. You know what I'm saying? There's folks everywhere watching us. Some folks that dropped out of middle school. Some folks dropped out of high school. Some folks got PhDs. Some folks is in college. We have professors watching that, like take some of our stuff to their, we got grade school teachers, professors watching, all kinds of at every level. You know what I'm saying? So with the rich abs, poor abs universe, you know, we just been able to just like hit the gas. So I said, I just bought 9 of them yesterday. Listen, I be just as excited as y'all. Listen, I be just as excited as y'all. I just got some. Hold up, let me show y'all what I just got. I just got some. I be just as excited as y'all to get my own books. I be just as excited as y'all. Trust me. Osborne, bro. Listen, the single most important thing about diabetes you got to remember is, listen, matter of fact, when we get in the Bentley, I'll explain it. Thank God Jimmy sent us this Bentley. Listen, wait. Who? Get us to the mansion. Get us to the mansion. My wife. From the crown of thorns to facial chains and diabetes, you have never heard this much knowledge before in a zombie story. It could only be quantum entanglement with the big homie. Go to Amazon now. Okay. I just received, right? The CMOS book. Oh my God, we went so crazy in this book on the CMOS. Rich Abs and the CMOS Savior. We went so crazy in this book. So I just received that. I just received 5 books this morning. Rich Abs versus the Heart Attack. Rich Abs and the CMOS Savior. Rich Abs versus the Heart Attack. Poor Abs, the Journal and the Mystery of Osiris. Now this book right here, we got to do a whole day on this. We might have to do a whole week on this because this right here, the journal part is real. The journal part is real. This I pulled from time working. Like I said, we started this journey with 10 years of information from the 40-day fruit fast. I pulled this from that and some personal, some personal folks. Like, yeah, so with this, it includes a 40-day journal of transformation, including blood tests and everything. Diet, workout, struggle, everything. Like this is tough right here. So anyway, I got Poor Abs, the Journal and the Mystery of Osiris. Then I got Rich Abs, Christ Doctrine, the Electromagnetic Signature of Living Current. Right? This right here. This is kind of a thick one. It's kind of a thick one. It's kind of a thick one, but it reads very fast. It's very information dense, though. Oh my God. Yeah, we're going crazy. It's like not real until I have the book. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not a digital person. So I don't like to read books on the computer, not even mine. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe that's why I have so many typos. But I'm getting a lot better with the typos. Right? But and then this For Christ's sake. Ooh! For Christ's sake. Diabetes masterclass. For Christ's sake. This is this one here. This one right here. So like you see that conversation in that clip, that conversation in that clip, that's a little play. You know, just what I could do in 10 seconds.
Osborne, bro. Listen, the single most important thing about diabetes you got to remember is, listen, matter of fact, when we get in the Bentley, I'll explain.
So it's basically a conversation like how they used to put the lessons together in Kemet, which later on in the Greek writings, they have the same type of format. And then later on again in the Roman and then the Freemason, you know, the Masonic writings, they have that same format, whereas teacher, student, back and forth. And then we have the supreme wisdom lessons that's in that same line of writing that goes back to Kemet, teacher, student, going back and forth. And you use that conversation between a teacher and a student as a teaching tool. So it's fractal recursion. You don't even think about it as fractal symmetry, but it is in a way, right? Because you have a teacher and a student's dialogue being used for a conversation of teaching between a teacher and a student, right? Macrocosm, microcosm, or microcosm, macrocosm, depending on the perspective of the conversation, right? So we definitely borrowed that and went into this this long discussion on diabetes. Long discussion on diabetes. So this came out crazy. This came out crazy. So, but yeah, I'm excited too. I got me a few new books. You know what I'm saying? I got me a few new books. Yeah. Yeah. Yo, bro, nah, that's how it is. Listen, that's how it is, especially with this. With this codex, the codex is crazier than the goat book. The codex is crazier than the goat book. Yeah, codex is crazier than the goat book. That's what Paul talking about. Yeah, the codex crazier than the goat book. Yeah, because the goat book, we got a lot of reference material inside the goat book. The goat book has a lot of reference material. You know what I'm saying? But the codex is just us. It's just us, and it's way bigger. Look, the thickness is close, but the size is nowhere near the same. The word count is crazy. The word count is crazy. I think it was I think it's 100. I think it's 123,000 or 140 something thousand words. I got two different word counts. Yeah, I got 123,000, and then I got something close to 144,000 for the same exact. I printed it. I printed it different ways and got different word counts. So, but yeah, it's heavy. It's heavy. Nah, we gonna work on the code. Oh, you still waiting on it? I thought you said still working on it. No, we're gonna be working on the codex for a long time. We're gonna be working on the codex for a long time. It's a lot of stuff we gotta pick apart. Like all of these books, all of the Rich Abs books are support material for the codex, right? So what happens is, let me show y'all, because we got, y'all think I'm playing. I already got the first drafts I got the first drafts of. Okay, wait. Let me see. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, hold on. Let me see, because I want to show y'all these drafts. Okay, look. I don't know if this how they're gonna look by the time y'all get them. They probably look a little different, right? They probably look a little different, right? But I already got the drafts. But y'all got to take the test. y'all ain't even took no test yet. So this is putting the chicken the horse before the cart, right? But I already got the drafts for the different certifications. Yeah. I got drafts for different certifications for when people actually officially pass. You know what I'm saying? Because we taking the seminary thing serious. All right. So we have our grading system. Right. We have our grading system. We have the first 3 grades. Right. Or 3 degrees. Right. Then we have the next 7. And then after that, once you have those, the first 3 and then the next 7, that's a total of 10. Right. Once you have that, then it's a matter of taking the test for the codex. Then once you take the test for the codex and successfully pass that, you'll be a certified. That'll be the equivalent of graduating. That'll be our system of graduating. You can't take the test for the 7 until you get the test for the first 3. Once you pass that, pop, then you can take the test for the 7, which is these 200 questions that we're looking at, that we started. That's for the 7, the next 7. And then the test for the codex. I haven't even started flashing that around yet. That's so off the wall and out of this universe. I haven't even started. Right? Think about, we just going through the notes. We just going through the notes for the 7. And these notes is already like, how does the electron know where to go? Redox potential gradients and spatial alignment guided. What keeps all these complexes stable and close? Cardiolipin. What is cardiolipin? A unique 4-chain phospholipid found only in the inner mitochondrial membrane. Why is it so important? It anchors the electron transport chain complexes and holds them at tunneling distances. What happens without cardiolipin? Complexes drift, distances widen, tunneling fails, ATP collapses. What structure forms when they're held together? The respirazome. What is a respirazome? A supercomplex of complexes 1, 3, and 4 that allows streamlined tunneling. What proves tunneling is real? Electron transfer rates are temperature independent, distances align with quantum predictions and mutations that increase space and kill the current. Is this just a theory? No, it's verified by spectroscopy, ultra-fast kinetics, and distance-dependent studies. Is this chemical or electrical? It is both. It is electrogenic charge flow through chemical redox relays. Then why do textbooks say electrons hop? Because they still teach the flame gospel. What does the temple say? Electrons don't hop, they tunnel, they don't burn, they arrive. How does the cell avoid combustion? By spacing redox centers within quantum threshold and guiding electrons with structure. What happens if structure is lost? The electron fails to arrive. The charge cannot move. The temple breaks. Is tunneling energy dependent? No, it's structure and alignment dependent. What happens at the end of electron's path? Oxygen accepts 4 electrons and 4 protons at complex 4 to form 2 water molecules. What exactly is used in that reaction? Right? So, it's complex information that, is not really circulating like that. But through time, effort, we put it together, streamlined it to make it as easy as possible to study and learn. Yeah, to make it as easy as possible to study and learn. Like similar with the right? A part of the finals for the first 3, right? Just think of the format and think of the information, right? Think of the format and the information, right? As a talented conductor, what is your proof that God exists? 7 days in a week, 365 days in a year, 7.365, the pH of life based on inspiration. What? The inspiration of what? The sun, moon, and stars. The inspiration from who? The most talented. Why does the most talented inspire? To motivate us to work. Why should we work? To create information that could be harnessed to genetic diversity. How do we work? Transforming energy in seconds for stretches of 60. Why? Because of the galactic tilt and Harpanopte. Why else? Because it is of the product of 3, 4, and 5. Right? Now, there's obviously a method to my madness. We started out, or at least I started out anyway, trying to streamline information with the divine mathematics and the algorithm book. Those will always be the foundations, the foundation. So everything after those books is like when I wrote the Black Gene Ethics book, the Black Genetics book. That was the title and the subtitle, Black Genetics, Black Gene Ethics, right? That book, I wrote that book and nobody knew what I was talking about when I wrote that book. People were interested, they liked it, but they didn't understand what I was saying. So from there, I probably wrote like 15 or 20 books trying to explain everything that was in that first book, right? And it was a nice, beautiful journey. You know what I'm saying? Like we even made a school lot. Like it went, it was a beautiful journey. A lot of people that spawned a lot of juice bars, a lot of herb places, a lot of personal trainers, a lot of holistic, businesses. I created, or those teachings created, you know what I'm saying? But the divine mathematics book and the algorithm book, from that space to where we are now, right? Let me show y'all what I'm saying. Let me show y'all what I'm saying real quick. Let me show y'all something. And this is in the new book that's dropping. This is in the new book that's dropping on my birthday. Let me show y'all something. Don't trip. I know y'all was like, yo, it got dark. What's going on? Nah, I hit the wrong button. I hit the wrong button. Right? So let me show y'all something. I really need to spray this board down. Where's my spray? Is this a spray right here? I think this is the spray. I need to spray this board down. Make this board a little easier to clean off. Spray. Oh, there we go. Yes. It's a lot less of a workout. Okay. Yeah. Ooh, nice. Okay, now it's getting streaky. But it was looking nice for a second. Hold on. Now it's getting streaky. Okay, I mean, I overdid it. You can tell I don't even know how to use that spray. Clearly, it's a certain amount of. But anyway, right? Here's the math, right? Right? 3, 4, 5. Right? Here's the math, right? If there was ever some divine math, like this is the divine mathematics right here. In case y'all got the book, y'all read it, and y'all was ever wondering like what math, what numbers, because it's a lot of stuff. So if you was ever wondering, or I didn't explain good, or whatever the case, or we moved on too fast, here's my second shot to communicate it, and your second shot to get it. 3, 4, and 5, right? These are the central numbers of all science. The central numbers of all science, right? This is masonry. Masonry is based on this. Geometry is based on this. The Greco-Roman culture invented a whole person named Pythagoras to steal this. This is electromagnetism, right? We give credit to Maxwell. Is it Maxwell or Maxwell? Right? The guy with all of the formulas that give us the understanding of electromagnetic fields and magnetic fields alternating to create light, right? Or the relationship of light to electricity and magnetism. Like all of that science comes from this. This is the foundation of that. Right. And we don't even have that kind of time to go into that as the foundation, but this is the foundation of that. Right. Because the foundation of understanding mechanical waves, right, which is sound waves, pressure waves, or electromagnetic waves, starts with just understanding vibration. And that starts with this. Right, vibrating strings, right? So when you go back to Kemet or the Dogon and this and that, this is how they had advanced knowledge of stars and astronomy, but they was talking about strings and foolishness. Well, not I ain't gonna say foolishness, but stuff that you just wouldn't relate to like understanding stars and light and more complex science. So you're talking about strings but the relationship is not in the material, right? They're not studying the material of a star by studying strings. They're studying the vibration of strings and frequency to understanding light and sound, right? So anyway, 3, 4, 5, right? This is the secret of the square, right? Because a square, right? A square, you can be talking about an actual square, or you could just be talking about a 90-degree angle, which is a square, right? And that's one of the most famous things that masonry is known for is the compass and the square. This right angle triangle is called a square, right? So now from these 3 numbers, you get 2 other numbers. Right? From these 3 numbers, you get the number 12, right? 3 plus 4 plus 5 is 12, right? You also get 2 more numbers, right? 2 more numbers. 3 times 4 times 5, right? 3 times 4 is 12. 12 times 5 is, okay, 5 times 4 is 20. 20 times 3 is, right? So when you multiply these three numbers, you get this number, 60. What's the exercise we do? What's the blueprint? The 60 and 60. Why? Because the 60 and 60 is based off of the 60,000 miles that the heart has to, the heart has to push the blood every 60 seconds. Well, that's not random. Your heart and the function of your heart is tied to, right? Your little universe is connected to the big universe through your heart, right? Through the QRST wave. Christ, that whole conversation we're having, right? That conversation we're having is centered around this math right here. This is the divine mathematics, which creates your algorithms. So that's where we're going with those two books, right? So 3, 4, 5, when you add them is 12. When you multiply them is 60, right? So this is why I say even the idea that Sumerians created the 12 and the 60 is incorrect. The idea that they created the 12 and the 60 is absolutely incorrect. The 12, the 60, the 3, 4, and the 5 existed long before, because in Sumer, they're trying to credit. So they're trying to go from an imaginary person, Pythagoras, to crediting Sumerians, right? And what they're saying is that you got 4 fingers, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 4 fingers, and each one of your fingers has 3 divisions, right? And then you got a thumb, right? You add the thumb in and give you 5. So you can keep track of count, and you can count up to 60 if you use those divisions. And so that's where they came up with the 60 and the base 12 and the woo woo woo. Right? We know in Kemet, right? In Kemet, we know these numbers was already there. They built them into the structures. They literally crystallized these numbers into the structures, right? Even the seasons, right? Even the season, the calendar was based on a 12-month year, 3-month seasons, or rather, 3 seasons of 4 months each, right? A 12-month year, 3 seasons, 4 months each, and that gave you 360 days with 5 ritual days left over, right? So there's a variety of ways they ritualized this understanding, because this math was the math of the universe as far as Kemet was concerned, right? Now, there's a hidden number with these numbers, right? So 3, 4, 5, when you add them is 12. When you multiply them is 60. Now, when you add these two numbers is 72, right? And 72 is 1 degree in the great year, which is roughly 25,000 years, right? The great circle, right? So it was a very meticulous, right? A very meticulous. Now, when we go into the new book, right? When we go into the new book, and the new book will be out tomorrow for my birthday. No, wrong book. Okay, here's a portion of look at this portion of the study material. All right, let's look at this portion of the study material real quick. I just want y'all to see something. Now, what I'm showing y'all is this right here. This is where the 7.365 pH comes from. Like we got 7 days a week, 365 days a year, right? Because the old calendar was translated. So the 10-day week was translated to a 7-day week, right? This is Akhenaten, the transfer of, 7-day week now, or eventually from that period, from the information he laid out. But you move to a 7-day week, and then you move to a 365-day year, as opposed to a 360-day year with 5 ritual days, right? You have a 365-day, and then you just have the leap year every so often, right, to even things out, right? But this is based on what? Where does these numbers even originate? It's based on watching the stars, right? It's based on watching the stars, how long it takes Earth to go around the sun. So just in case you don't understand the relationship when I'm saying the 7.365 or the 7 days a week and the 365 days a year comes from the stars. 365 days is how long it takes the Earth to go around the sun, right? So that pattern is in your blood, right? 7.365, your pH, right? Now, it goes deeper, right? So this is as above, right? This is as above, right? We just broke this down to as above. Now this will be as below, right? And this is in the studies. Where are the electrons staged? At the binuclear center, heme A3 and copper B. Is water created by fire? No, water is the final result of coherence, not combustion. What spins the ATP synthase? Protons flowing through the FO motor. How many subunits in the FO motor ring? 12. How many protons per full spin? 12. How many ATP per spin? 3 ATP per 12 protons, 1 for every 120 degrees. What is the meaning of 3 ATP per 12 protons? It mirrors the sacred pattern. 12 cranial nerves, 12 months, 12 breaths per minute, 3 divisions of the day, 3 initiations of the temple, all spinning from the same core rhythm. So what's cost per ATP? 5 cytochrome charge 4 protons, 3 for rotation, 1 for phosphate transport. This moves the 12 in the FO, which we reference as another 60. Is this the below from above? Very perspective. Let me rephrase the square. What square? The 3-4-5 triangle I thought you were referencing. The ancient 3 seasons of 4 months and 5 ritual days, the priestly ways, to give praise to the ancient of days where time was square and attention was paid. The way to the heart was the wage of the grave. Right? So we have a whole conversation, if you will, explaining the relationship of the cosmic math, right? Of the cosmic math to the you got the macro, the micro, and then you got the medium. I forgot what the medium one is called, right? But you got all three, right? Because you got the macro, then you have the blood pH, right? You got the blood pH 7.365. You got the blood traveling 60,000 miles every 60 seconds, right? You got that. But then when you go all the way down, 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 right? When you go all the way down to the subatomic, the subatomic scale is still following these numbers, right? Because even when we do F0, right? Even we do F0, right? The reason why I keep saying F0 is another 60 is because F is what? A, B, C, D, E, F. F is the sixth number, a sixth letter rather. So if we convert that in the English alphabet, the sixth letter to the number 6, F0 is another 60, right? So I always use that when I was studying to remember that the ATPA's motor, right, that's how I remember stuff. I got to turn stuff into stuff that I can remember, right? So me studying, right? But as me using that as a mnemonic device, I'm like, it clicked one day, like, wait a minute. I'm having one of them like them Lucy or Limitless moments. I'm like all information just clicked at one time. I'm like, oh, like, and then out of nowhere, I kid you not, I have the Lucy Limitless moment, and then out of nowhere, Wu-Tang start playing in my brain. That's the Bronx part. There's always a song associated with a moment of deep introspect and learning, right? So all of a sudden, these numbers just click, and then Wu-Tang come on. Can it be that it was all so simple then? And somehow, even that song made sense because I'm like, wait a minute. This is super simple. This is very complicated, but at the same time, because these cycles, right, all the way like the planetary and the sun, right, those cycles use the same math as the cycles of my blood and my nutrition, right? And then my blood and my nutrition and all that, like at a subatomic ATP, the electron, the proton, they're using these same numbers and they cycle. Like, so I'm like, can it be that it was all so simple then? Right? So that's where we at in terms of. See, that's what Hotep Jesus talking about. Like, Inky, it take you way too long to get to the point. Because technically we an hour and 43 minutes in, and I'm still talking. Let me show y'all what I'm talking about. Because some of y'all just tuned in late. I'm going to tell y'all what I'm talking about. I will show y'all. I can't even find it. It's way up here somewhere. Bro said, what is tunneling? Wait, it's right here. Bro said, what is tunneling? hey, he said, what is tunneling? It's 7:30 right now. He asked me that question because I can see the time on it on my screen. He asked that question before 5 o'clock, or rather before 6 o'clock. It was 5:55 when he asked that question on the dot. 5:55. Think about the timestamp. 5:55. It was 5:55 when he asked that question. And here it is, 7:27, and I'm still answering that question. Hotep. Your favorite racing game. Hey, that movie was tough though. That movie with Snowfall in it. What's his name? The boy from Snowfall with something. I forgot his name. You know, he's from England, but they had him playing Freeway Ricky Ross in Snowfall. He did a good job. Him and Brad Pitt, even though Brad Pitt carried the movie. They didn't really have him doing too much acting, but what the acting he did do, he did a pretty good job. That movie is tough. Nah, the quizzes ain't sending you to the back of the class. Stop trolling. Peyton is at the front of the class. Peyton, you know who Peyton is in the class? Peyton is that person that have their hand up the whole every day, all the time, sitting in the front seat right next to the teachers. He talking about here in the back of the class. No, Peyton's desk is right here. Peyton's desk is right here. I'm talking about Joe Joint is at the back of the class. Second Ezra. Glad to see you on my birthday, sir, in the live. Glad to see you on my birthday, sir, in the live. If y'all don't know, Second Ezra is my co-conspirator. Second Ezra is my co-conspirator with the merchandise. Or I should probably say I'm his co-conspirator because I come up with some ideas, but most of the ideas are his. Right? Most of the ideas are his. Yeah, most of the ideas are his. So if you don't know about the merchandise, like the hats, the shirts, the bags, you got to get a little more comfortable on the website. So go to AmericanHealer.website and don't just go look and click like for bitters or detox. Like press some buttons, move around on the website, right? Hit the menu bar. When you hit the menu bar, you're going to be like, oh, there's the stuff right there. Yeah. Right? Tell him, come on. Peyton is definitely at the front of the class. What is he talking about? He trolling. Yeah. Peace to everybody tapping in. I appreciate all the birthday wishes, the birthday super chats, the birthday cash apps. And listen, if you don't tap in during the live and you watch this on the playback, feel free to go on ahead and say, listen, I love Inky so much. We're going to wish him a happy birthday with this Paul size, with this Peyton size. That we done nicknamed some donations after y'all. We're gonna make a Peyton Paul sized cash app drop. Right? But no, this is important to get. Right? Seriously, all jokes aside, this is important to get. The relationship of the stars to what's happening at the blood level and then what's happening at the micro level, the subatomic level, right? Because the new book, right? The new book. So we have I don't even know where stuff is at in my computer. So much stuff is going on lately. I'm just so not even properly organized right now. It's a shame. It's a shame. Okay. Let me see something. Oh no, but I don't even have that in here. Anyway, I was gonna show y'all the cover of the new book, but you just gotta wait. You just gotta wait for the cover. Right? You just gotta wait for the cover. But in the American Healer Files, Volume 1, right? We went through the degree work, the 3 degrees, right? We went through the 3 degrees and we were talking about a lot of things, going into a lot of detail. In American Healer Files, Volume 2, right? Volume 2 because we've been working on the anatomy for a while now, right? Maybe about 60 books, maybe about 50 or 60, or maybe about over the course of about 50 books, we've developed the anatomy. In this book, we're dealing with this blueprint in terms of how the body designed itself. So the title of the book, or the subtitle of the book, is The Blueprint That Builds Itself. Right? The blueprint that builds itself. Right? The blueprint that builds itself. That's the title of the book, or the subtitle. We gotta see what Amazon do. But that's either the title or the subtitle of the book. Right? The blueprint that builds itself. So when we're talking about blueprint, right, what we're talking about is what this math represents. So it's important for you to understand that this is the math based on our relationship, the earth to the sun, and then everything else as secondary. That ratio, that relationship is the first binary code, the first binary coding system, earth, sun. Secondary relationship, earth, moon, right? Earth, sun, earth, moon, right? Everything else from there, right? Earth, sun, earth, moon. Moon, sun, but moon, sun from earth. Moon, sun from earth, right? So everything is binary relationships, right? Binary relationships, creating information that comes together and synthesizes, right? But those are the relationships that created life on this earth and created the blueprint for life on this earth, right? So science, at the most cutting edge of cutting edge, they're just starting to experiment past electricity. They're just starting to experiment. Like I told you, the Department of Defense put hundreds of millions of dollars in this maybe 5-10 years ago. Hundreds of millions of dollars into studying electricity, magnetism, and light as the drivers of biology. But you know, everything they do is always weapons research, right? So always stay ahead of the weapons race and all this other stuff, right? But that's where it is. They've just ventured just past electricity. And the research driving the search past electricity was all of the shortcomings that piled up in mapping out the DNA, right? So they thought when they would mapped out the DNA that they would have had the whole book of life and everything would have been figured out. Well, we mapped out the DNA decades ago, respectfully, and have not solved one disease problem yet. In fact, the diseases are still pretty much all getting worse. Cancer, heart disease, brain disease, you name it. They're still on the rise. Pharmaceutical companies are still making more and more money from them, right? They're still going up, right? And the major shortcoming, that's where this comes in. The major shortcoming of DNA is that, forget about the whole junk DNA conversation and all that, because I promise you, if you go on the internet and you search junk DNA for too long, you're going to wind up with chakras. You're going to somehow, the chakra folks have been very busy. They have turned every search engine for gobbledygook into somehow redirecting you to a chakra conversation. This is not a junk DNA conversation. This is not about junk DNA, right? I don't even believe in junk DNA. That's another conversation. But they realize that DNA does not store math. DNA does not store mathematical information. Period. I mean, it may store some basic arithmetic in terms of like creating peptides and proteins, but it doesn't store geometrical arrangements. It doesn't store spatial arrangements, right? These are the things that would be important to building a body, right? Because the size, the size of each one of your tissues has to be precise, right? Building the heart, where the heart is put, where this is put, where that's put. All of the structures in your body have different shapes, and none of that information is stored in DNA. Think about that. Think about your bones in your spine. Think about the crazy, weird shapes, because we look at that like the body is filled with zillions of weird shapes, but we're familiar as a people with the spine. Like, think about all those weird shapes, right? Those weird shapes are like almost the same for everybody, right? The shapes are not stored in the DNA. Like, the way to build those shapes, that's not in the DNA. It's nowhere to be found. Like, there's no trace of any of this information inside your physical DNA. Spooky action. That's not even spooky action at a distance. That's spooky action right up close and personal, slapping you across the face. So what happened is, and this is why I don't let myself get caught up in alien conversations, because I'm too busy following what's going on with reality, with the body. So when this information comes out and becomes scientific knowledge, in the spiritual circles, we've been like, this is common, but academia, when this information hits academia, that's when the internet goes crazy. Like that the Gaia network, and just all of those fake chakra networks, they start going crazy with like, the government is releasing the true stories of the alien, this and that, and the government is going to have to investigate this alien phenomenon, and blah 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 blah. When the alien, when the government transparency about the alien communicate, like when all of those things start coming out, I told y'all, whenever you're getting directed to look over here in the media, you should just start having, like, just train yourself to have this type of reaction. If the media is saying look this way, just practice like looking over there. Like, yeah, you might survive to the end of the scary movie if you develop this neck reflex where when you're directed to look this way, you just start looking that way. Make sure you ain't missing nothing. You know what I'm saying? And then throw one behind you too and see if you know. But when you directed to look here, it behooves you to make sure you look over here. And then every so often you throw, because you're going to be missing something. Yeah. And so when they came with all that information about the aliens, this and that, and all this other foolishness, I said, oh yeah, it's something. Art of misdirection. So we missing something. And come to find out, that's when they start exploring the inner verse or the inner universe with more aggressiveness, more specificity, more intensity, because they were specifically looking for something now. Now they're specifically looking for spatial arrangements, geometric data. Where is the geometric data studied? The nuclear DNA primarily only has like the information, like think of a building. Think of a building, a skyscraper. I'm from New York, so I think of skyscrapers. But if you're from suburbs or the country, think of a house, right? Think of a house. The DNA only has information on what you need to build the house. So the DNA has information for nails, wood beams, sheetrock, cement, even tools, drill, nail gun, whatever. Like
The DNA has the whole Home Depot list. That's what the DNA is. The DNA is a Home Depot shopping list, right? It has the whole Home Depot shopping list, and it's able to make all those items. So that's how tough the DNA is. The DNA has the shopping list, and it's the genie for creating the shopping list, right? But that's it. If a truck pulled up at a work site and just dropped off powders of cement and wood beams and sheetrock and a bunch of tools, that's still not a house. That's still not going to turn these bricks and this cement into a skyscraper with electricity and plumbing and piping and all that. Like, that ain't plumbing and electric, and that ain't that. That ain't that. So they realized, like, yo, 70% of the plan for how the human body is made is not in the DNA. This is scary now. This ain't no junk DNA. This is scary now, right? This is scary. This is creepy. Where is this information, right? And whoever gets their hands on this first could be like the master of the universe, or the corner the corporate market with whatever, or create a bio weapon to, So yeah, this became super duper serious. But again, it's government stuff, so they're not going to tell you what their top secret focus is. They're going to, yeah, look, we're going to release Area 51 Army pilots. You're like, what is this? I mean, you see this special on aliens, bro? This is getting crazy. This is real. You might want to do a live stream on this. Nah. There's a zillion people doing live streams on aliens. It's all right. Just tune into Pharaoh, one of them. They got aliens mixed in with chakras. They getting it real exciting for you. You got channels for that. you got channels for that. You got folks mixing chakras with aliens. You got channels for that. Oh my goodness, let's go, brother P Snipes with the reverse jam at the dunk contest. Like, hold up, roll that ball back out. Am I too late to get in the dunk contest for the W? No, the book will be out tomorrow. The book will be out tomorrow. It's called American Healer Files, Volume 2, The Blueprint That Builds Itself. And that's what we're talking about. This is why I'm showing that this math is the math that runs your body, but it's also the math that comes from the relationship of Earth and the sun. Right? So the very first symbol, right? The very first symbol is that, right? The very first symbol is that. And that's why in Kemet, they kept it like that. You know what I'm saying? Now we came and we modified it, right? But the very first symbol is this, right? This is the very first symbol. Right? Why? Because this line represents Earth. Right? This little dot is the sun. Right? The line is the Earth, the dot is the sun. Right? So our calendar in Kemet, they did the 360 days with the 5 extra days on the side. They never mushed the 360. They never did the 365, right? At least initially, right? They wind up giving us 2 calendars, a lunar calendar and a solar calendar and a civic, actually 3 calendars, right? But initially, it's the 360, right? It's the 360 to focus on, because 360 degrees, right, is a circle, right? And so everything comes out of this blueprint right here. So this is why if you go to the PhD book, right? If you don't have the PhD book, listen, 2 hours in, I ain't say it one time, right? Go to Amazon, add it to your cart, check out. Go to Amazon, add it to your cart, check out. If you don't have the PhD book, go to Amazon, add it to your cart, check out. But this is what I was talking about when I was saying that the Bible is accurate. The Bible is accurate when it says that God made man inside our image and after our likeness, right? This is the image. This is the image. This is the image. The image is a ratio, a relationship, right? So we have this as a blueprint for how cells are designed. We also have this as a blueprint for how light interfaces with matter, right? Because this is also your eyeball, right? So not only is this a cell, right? But this is also an eyeball, right? This is also the first hieroglyph for the sun, Ray. This is also the first hieroglyph in the Chinese alphabet, right? This is also the very first hieroglyph in the scientific alphabet, right? In the scientific alphabet, this is the first picture of what an atom looks like, right? This is an atom, right? This is the nucleus, and this is the early idea of an electron valence, right? So this forms a very important motif in our universe. You know what I'm saying? In our universe that's translated. So the whole idea with understanding that geometric and spatial information is not stored in DNA is where is it coming from and how is it consistent? Where is it coming from and how is it consistent? And that's where you get into the deeper conversation of quantum entanglement. Quantum entanglement, spooky action at a distance, right? Because there's no spatial geometric information stored in DNA. Where is it, right? Well, I've only been saying it for, the whole time I've been on YouTube, right? Information is stored in magnetic fields, right? So, again, we can go back to that original problem, right? The original problem, like I said, in the foundation of the science building, the foundation of the biology building, right? We got this idea of combustion, right? Oxidative phosphorylation is combustion. We're combusting fuel in the body to make ATP. We're burning sugar, burning fat. That one flaw causes every other confusion, right? Because if we get that there is no combustion, there's only electricity, right? Subatomic particles. Well, once we get the fact that it's no combustion, it's just subatomic behavior. Now we realize that the core of our biology is quantum entanglement. Light speed information transfer from our light source. Our light source is the sun. This is science, textbook science. Two particles that have the same origin are automatically quantumly entangled. All of the photons and electrons that we experience here on Earth originate in the sun. Grand opening, grand closing. There's not a scientific teacher or professor on Earth that will dispute that. The only question is why haven't we discussed that in regard to biology? Because we have this racism thing in the way because we have to deal with pigment. And for the greater part of 100 years, European and American scientists and teachers and academia have been teaching that pigment is a waste thing, a waste product. Now, going from a waste product to the most valuable substance on Earth is quite a jump. That's quite a jump, right? But that's what we were taught in the Bible. That's what we were taught as Masons, right? That the stone that the builders rejected, the stone that the builders rejected, right? So this whole math here, again, comes from this circle, right? This circle. And you get 360 degrees. And then that's where you get your relationship, right? Of squaring the circle, right? Because a square, right? A 90-degree angle, 4 times 90, 360, right? 360. So that's where, you know, some relationship of the square to the circle comes in, right? But this is at the basis of all of our science, right? And it's an electric relationship. It's an electric relationship. And when we get the electric nature of our body, right? Once we get the electric part, everything else falls in line, right? Because you get the electric, just because we got some new folks, right? You can't have an electric conversation without a magnetic conversation, without a light conversation. Moving electric fields generates magnetic fields. Alternating electric and magnetic fields creates light, right? So that's our holy trinity, right? In the church of Winner for Christ, right? That's our trinity. Electricity, magnetism, light, right? The Father, Mother, the Son, right? Electricity, magnetism, light, right? So you can't have an electric conversation without a magnetic component and a light component, right? And so when we talk about the mitochondria and we talk about the quantum tunneling that's happening in mitochondria, it's happening in the heme groups, right? It's happening in the heme groups, right? These are all pigments. These are all pigments. So you can't have a conversation about this stuff without having a conversation of pigments. The quantum behavior happens in pigments. So when you look on the internet and you see these goofballs like Jim Khalili and all these guys, and they talking about quantum biology and all that, notice they're going to disrespect you by talking about plants and chlorophyll. Bro, I could care less about the chlorophyll, bro. I want to know about the quantum behavior in my blood, in my skin, in my brain. I want to know about that. I want to know about the quantum behavior in my brain. I want to know what's possibly stopping the quantum behavior in my brain that's causing dementia and Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Yeah, I want to know about that. I want to know about the quantum behavior in my heart that's causing heart that's created a situation worldwide where heart disease is the #1 killer. I want to know why diabetes leads to both heart disease and brain disease. The #1 and #2 killers caused by the same suspect. Huh? They done put Puffy on trial with less evidence than Puffy's on trial with less evidence than diabetes. Like diabetes just walks away from multiple homicides. Diabetes done creeped away from multiple homicides, left fingerprints, DNA evidence, and everything. And diabetes is still on the loose. Diabetes ain't been arrested yet. And diabetes done left saliva, DNA, hair, fingerprints, every form of evidence you could think of. Diabetes has left at the scene of the homicide and has not been apprehended for questioning one time. Right? What is the relationship of diabetes to heart disease, of diabetes to brain disease, of diabetes to kidney, to this one, to that one? Like, there are individual factors that link one to the other, But what's the thing that connects them all? What's the thing that not only connects them all, but also is the thing that got the government putting millions into trying to figure out the geometrical, spatial, it's the spirit, right? The world of energy, right? The world of energy. Feynman, Richard Feynman, right? Well-respected guy in science. He's one of the GOATs. Feynman, he's one of the most recent, greatest of all time science, light, electromagnetic, quantum dynamics teachers in history. Look him up if you don't know what I'm talking about. Richard Feynman, right? He's on record saying the craziest thing about science is that we actually don't have one working definition for energy that actually covers energy in all aspects. The only definitions we have for energy is to define the effects of energy. But we don't have a fabric of energy. We just have effects of energy. John Q. Public is walking around with a false bravado, a false arrogance. That's why I'm trying to point out to folks like, 99% of the sound that happens within our atmosphere, we can't hear it. 99% of the light in our environment, not the universe, in our environment, on Earth, in our house, in your apartment right now, 99% of the light that is in your place right now, you cannot see. So we are very close to dumb, deaf, and blind. Deaf and blind, yes. But the dumb, that comes in because we don't realize how much that we're missing. And we think we know it all. So for species that can't see 99% of the light and can't hear 99% of the sound, we have a very arrogant approach to knowing everything. Even though our most two important biological organs are our number one and number two killer, the heart and the brain. Most two important organs in our body, number one and number two cause of death. So that means we don't understand them either. And what I'm telling you is, this all centers around the fundamental flaw of energy. That's what the diabetes disease is. The diabetes disease is the inability of your cells to properly metabolize and produce energy. That's because we not here with it. We got to go back to this. This is the basics. This is the blueprint. So in the new book, we go deep. Deeper and deeper. In the new book, we go deeper into the conversation of how our body was created, right? We start with the one cell, but we use the 3-5-7 methodology. We have a 3-5-7 science that we've developed, right? We have a whole science of understanding the human body based on the numbers 3, 5, and 7, right? Because after conception, and we have a book on it, right? After conception, right? Let there be music, right? It's around here somewhere. Right? If you don't have it, go to Amazon, add it to your cart, check out. You're going to need that conception book, right? After conception, we start with the number 3, right? The number 3 represents the ectoderm, the mesoderm, like the 3 layers of skin that the one cell develops into, right? So you got the ectoderm, the ectoderm, the mesoderm, and the endoderm, right? Ecto, outside, meso, middle, endo is the inside, right? And then from there are 5 types of signals. And those 5 types of signals drive all of those stem cells, because those 3 layers of tissue is 3 layers of stem cells, right? The ectoderm, the mesoderm, and the endoderm, those are all stem cell layers. Those are all stem cell layers, right? Those cells are all stem cells. And you have 5 different types of signals that act on those stem cells to turn them into all of the other cells of your body. And we have taken all the cells in your body and created 7 types. 7 types, 7 systems, right? So not the monotonous 11 systems that are 12 systems, that are 18 systems, that are 20 systems, and every different school of thought has a whole different number, right? We've put them together based on function and found it's 7 systems, just 7 different types of cells, right? So you got a lot of different variation, but you have 7 different types of cells, right? So 3 layers, 5 signals, 7 types, 3, 5, and 7. And we go through this whole concept of the blueprint and how those 5 signals work on stem cells to turn them into the different cells and tissues. And we deal with geometric information, spatial information, those concepts, subatomic concepts. Obviously, we deal with the math, make it as simplified and palatable and easy to digest as possible, right? What? You said it's racking your brain? Larger object. What is racking your brain? Oh, gravity. Let me just say this. I can't argue with the gravity folks, man. I don't want to argue with the gravity folks. The gravity folks have beat me into, I ain't gonna say submission, because I'm not pro-gravity. I'm not pro-gravity. Let me just say that. I'm not I'm not a gravity person. I'm not a gravity person. I'm not a gravity person. But you know, like how, like the Bloods and the Crips. No, seriously. You know how the Bloods and the Crips get down? Or like how countries go into war for long time period, like years and years and years. And so much people done got killed up on both sides. After a while, they just be like, we got a truce. You know what I'm saying? Like we get it. We get it. Y'all ain't putting y'all guns down. So all right. So we just gonna stop shooting. We're gonna stop shooting. Y'all got all that over there. That's y'all. We over here. We you know. So that's how I move with the gravity, folks. But I'll be honest. I think the more that we move into an electric conversation, like for instance, the more we focus on electricity, magnetism, and light, right? If you notice, there's no conversation of gravity there. Gravity's not required, right? Gravity's not required for life to exist. So Gravity's not required for Inky to discuss. hey, listen. So I don't beef for the gravity folks anymore. But I did. There's old videos of me beefing with the gravity folks, right? Because there are other things that can possibly create those effects. There are other things that can create those effects. So the gravity people have argued and proven effects of gravity, which you cannot disprove. Fact. The problem is there are other things that can, if you take out the theories of gravity, you can sub in some other theories and they work just as well. So that's a problem, right? So there's that. Right? There's that. So if the earth stopped, it wouldn't fling us off. Would the earth fling us off? If the earth stopped, would it fling us off? That's a hell of a question. That's a hell of a question. I don't know if I have a direct answer for that. Because when you say stopped, I don't even know what that means, right? Because technically, remember, the earth is spinning on its axis, right? Then at the same time as it's spinning like this, it's rotating around the sun, right? But you got to remember, our entire solar system is also traveling at the same time. So when you say stopped, do you mean stop spinning, stop rotating around the sun, or for the solar system itself to completely stop moving? Or do you mean all three of those things to happen at once? Right? Because if all three of those things happen at once, we have other problems that might be more pressing. Yeah, I don't even know if it's possible for us to experience such a thing, because the mechanisms that would have to happen to bring the earth spin and rotation and solar movement to a halt, I think would stop consciousness. I think we're tied to that movement, right? We're tied to that movement like our life is tied to blood circulating through the system. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't even think it would be possible for us to experience something like that. That's what I would say. I don't even think it's possible for us to experience that, because if that became a real world event, we would be out before that would happen. Yeah, we would be out before that even happened, in my opinion. Yeah, but that's a hell of a question. Just the earth rotation? So the earth is still spinning? If the earth is still spinning, I don't know that the rotation would necessarily affect us in that way. Yeah, because the earth is spinning, right? The earth is spinning. Not only is the earth spinning, the earth is made out of iron, and the earth is surrounded by a magnetosphere, right? So we have an ionosphere and a magnetosphere. So not only is the earth's iron core, right? Then its earth is spinning, iron core is spinning. We have an electric environment, right? Surrounded by the ionosphere, surrounded by the magnetosphere. So if all that's intact, I don't know if we fling off the planet. Yeah, I don't know if we fling off the planet. Yeah, I don't know if we fling off the planet. That's a lot going on. Yeah, that's a lot going on. Yeah, that's a lot going on. So, but hypothetical universe, actual factual universe, right? Actual factual universe, right? It is a actual fact, right, that our pH is 7.365. It is a actual fact that there are 365 days in a year. It is a actual fact that electrons and protons are responsible for recycling ATP. It is an actual fact that when ATP breaks down to ADP, it is light. It is electromagnetic waves and mechanical waves that are released that powers the activity of the cell. Right? Those are all actual facts. And those are actual facts that have been denied, overlooked, glossed over, right? Which is when I started the campaign, really by telling people, hey, it's not electrons that power the human cells. Everybody was like, what? The scientist was like, oh, that's that self-educated foolishness. The Sabi people was like, oh, he trying to just go against Dr. Sabi. That's what he trying to. I'm like, no. The electrons help recycle, help. They don't do it by themselves. They help recycle ATP. And then we use ATP to power the cell. And when we use ATP, we're using what comes out of breaking the chemical bonds between the phosphates and what's released. And what's released is light and sound. Right? Light and sound is what's released from breaking those chemical bonds. And that's what powers the cell. Right? So now we have to wrestle with the idea that light and sound, two things that are not even real. Light and sound, right? Because light and sound are only in our minds. They're not intrinsic to the world. In the world, you have mechanical waves and you have electromagnetic waves. Those electromagnetic waves only become light when our pigments interpret them. Mechanical waves only become light when our nerves interpret them. Right? They have to go through our ear or through our body's receptors and get translated to the nerves to the neurons, and then we make something intelligent out of sound. Right? That's where the whole old school, if a tree falls in the woods, but there's no one around to hear it, does it still make a sound? The answer is no. Sound only exists in your mind. It does make pressure waves, sure, but if those pressure waves are not received by something that can convert them into sound, no sound's ever made. Right? So we gotta get to that part. Yo, Marv stay making an entrance in the middle of the video or toward the end of the video. Marv coming at the end of the video. We at the end of the video. We at the end of the video. Yeah. So you got adenosine, which is the carrier, right? And then you got the phosphates basically stacked onto the adenosine. So you got that second letter tell you what the count is. So AMP is adenosine monophosphate, the mono 1-phosphate. Adenosine diphosphate means 2. Di is 2. And then tri, ATP is 3. Right? And so that whole system works stacked on top of another, on another, on another, right? So you got the original binary relationship of hydrogen, right? Hydrogen is just one electron and one proton, right? That's hydrogen. One electron, one proton, right? The sun, right? Primarily hydrogen. Electrons, protons. What's happening in your mitochondria? Electrons, protons. That's it. Electrons and protons doing what? Recycling light. What's happening at the sun? Electrons and protons doing what? Recycling light. So the whole process of solar creation is repeated over and over inside your cells.
This is why you have to go to Amazon and get the book, Rich Abs, Poor Abs, now.